Daniel Kensington, and during this program I'll be talking about the student funding system that was taken away. Specifically, I'll be looking at Oakland's college, where EMA once existed.
So what sort of things did you spend the money on?
I spent it on camera tapes and I spent it when going to trips. Also, admittedly, I spent some of it on my lunch while I was here.
So how did you feel when you heard EMA was being abolished?
Very angry. I was frustrated because I needed the money, obviously, and obviously jobs aren't that easy to come by now, especially with so many people who are already fully qualified getting laid off. And it meant that I knew it meant that I was going to miss out on certain things.
And what have you done to get the money you need for the things in your course?
Mostly I've suffered in silence. For today's example, I've been unable to go on one of the trips to a gallery because I didn't have the money to get the train fare. Because of the buses, you now need to pay for the buses, I have been getting money off my mother. But it's been quite a strain, even if it's quite cheap. So mostly I've just been able to come in, but I haven't been able to afford a lot of the things you need while in college.
Would you prefer a job or EMA?
It's a tough one, because the lazy side of me would prefer EMA, to just get money and not have to do anything apart from come in. But in terms of after college, I'd like to have a job. I'd like to have a part-time job to get me ready for when I leave and maybe turn that part-time into a full-time. So if I had to pick one, I think I would rather the job to help me. So I would rather the job.
So if you could compromise with the college on financial assistance, then how would you go about doing this?
Well, personally, the form to me seems much more complicated than it needs to be. I prefer the old one, but again, too many people were using it. So I think I'd rather, if they used the old form, just maybe did a bit of a background checking themselves into the people who actually needed it. You know? Because they're trusting the students, which we are adults now, so we should be trusted, but at the same time, not the most trusting people, to write down what they need. And while they do ask for some evidence, it's still not foolproof. So I believe they should go back to the old EMA and maybe just, like say, have a background check where someone personally checks with their parents or guardians or whoever they're living with.
Do you have any final opinions, views you want to share about EMA or the new funding system?
I don't think people are taking in enough of how much students are struggling with money. They either assume that their parents will give it or that they should go out and get a job, which is, again, a lot harder than it used to be because of the recession and all that.
Oakland's college used to help students with a funding system called EMA. EMA stands for Education Maintenance Allowance. This allows students with money troubles to buy the things they need to help them get through their college daily life. However, it was disbanded in 2010, but is now being replaced with a new form of financial support, but this one is a much more complicated and harder system that might find it hard for students to achieve. Travel is one of the biggest problems when it comes to students and funding. Certain things have been set up for the students, such as the EMA buses now give a discount of those with a college ID badge. The 601 buses and the 615 buses used to be free for anyone with the badge. If a student was lucky enough to be able to get a bus, which only cost them £1, it would be the cheapest form of transportation. Even people who drive must pay for their own petrol. Someone who gets the 366 buses, a centre bus, would be paying a total of £576 a year. Someone who would need the train and then a bus, like certain students need, would be paying over £800 a year, and the prices are still rising for various buses.
Do you know when and why EMA was cut?
I don't know exactly when. I know it was this year, with this academic term, academic year anyway. I know it was cut by the new government because they probably wanted to give it to people who had heroin addictions or thousands of children by different fathers.
How do you personally feel about it being cut?
I think that it was a really, really bad decision. I think that the government have got their priorities wrong, and they should be investing in the young people, because young people are the future, and they do need to have... they need to be considered when it comes to budgeting, because of the fact that we are in a recession, but yet the government is still ploughing money into other areas which perhaps don't deserve it as much as young people trying to progress within their education.
If there are still students with money troubles, are there any other ways to gain financial support?
Yeah, the college has a number of bursaries that they can give to students who have come from families with low incomes. You have to apply for a bursary, and there are only a certain amount that are available throughout the college. You can go to learner services and fill out a form, and as long as your parents fill it in, they ask for certain pieces of information from your parents to prove that you actually need it. You can apply for a bursary.
Does the college give any support for those looking for a job?
Yes, the college and also the college's relationship with Connections, basically an external organisation which the college has links with, and they will help you write your CV. They can also help you look for jobs, and they can put you in the right direction to find part-time work. And also, when you leave college, if you decide you don't want to go to university or progress within education, they can also help you look for things like apprenticeships or jobs that you want to do full-time after completing the course.
How do you feel about the buses no longer being free but actually being available to a wider range of students over?
Okay, I think that, again, that is another consequence of the recession. I think that the bus companies probably couldn't afford to provide the bus journey for free. I think that the fact that they still give it to you for £1 is good, considering the fact that public transport is really, really expensive. So I think something is better than nothing. Obviously it was nice when you could get the bus for free, but I think that, you know, these cuts have come with the fact that petrol, for example, is ridiculously expensive. Insurance is ridiculously expensive. So you think about the outgoings that the bus companies must have. They have to take the money from somewhere, so that has to come from somewhere.
It was proven in a questionnaire that certain students admitted to spending EMA money on clothes rather than college supplies or travel. Does this then justify the reasons for cutting EMA altogether for everyone?
Some students did that. Some students spent money on clothes. I think I would spend money on clothes. It's part of your wage, but the point is some students needed that money to get to college. I think it's... like I said, with attitude, with the attitude of the student. If the student doesn't want to attend college, the student doesn't really want to progress within their education, and they're not really bothered, then they won't attend college, and then they'll spend their EMA on clothes. So, in the long run, you know, it's to do with the attitude of the student more than it is to do with whether to stop it or not. You can't say, oh, we're going to stop it completely because some people buy clothes with it or spend it on cigarettes. It's like, well, some people actually spend it on what it's supposed to be going to. So,
certain people have the opinion that students complaining for EMA are lazy and should just get a job. How do you feel about this?
I think that it's a good thing to work part-time. I think that it teaches you responsibility, it gives you experience. I had a paper round when I was 12, a chambermaid when I was 14, and I started working at a supermarket when I was 15, until all the way through my education until I left university. I worked at a supermarket, so I've always had part-time jobs. I think that you have to make sure that if you do work part-time that you keep your hours so they don't disrupt your education. Your education comes first, but there's nothing wrong, I think, with getting a part-time job. I think it's good for you, and I do, but I don't think that the government can use it as an excuse not to give people support who need it.
Opinions play a big role in funding and people's lives, but what would you rather? A good education where you get a 50-50 chance of getting your dream job, or another job where you get the money you want and the life you want? Connections can help you with that.
Connections is a neutral party. It allows you to make the choices you want without putting pressure on you to decide either to go to college or find a job.
So is there a solid way to make everyone happy? Is it possible we can satisfy those who need the money as well as supplying it? Can we give students jobs without having to take away their education? It is unsure. What if we continue the way we're going, with more cuts, price rising and less jobs for those young and old? Soon, no one will be able to afford the education we are fighting for.